Former Philippines President Rodrigo Duterte arrives at The Hague facing charges by the International Criminal Court. Ombudsman found there's lots of illegal parking at public housing estates. The Chinese university developed a new approach for early detection of nasopharyngeal cancer. Good evening and thank you for joining us. The International Criminal Court has taken custody of Rodrigo Duterte. The former Philippine president is accused of crimes against humanity for deadly anti-drugs crackdowns. Before going into detention, Duterte said he will face a court on behalf of Filipino law enforcement. David Garrett reports.
Touching down to face the International Criminal Court, the plane believed to be carrying the former leader of the Philippines, Rodrigo Duterte, landing in Rotterdam. A medical team on standby for the 79-year-old who was arrested at Manila Airport after arriving from Hong Kong 2 days ago. There was a stopover in the UAE. The ex-president will face crimes against humanity charges at the International Criminal Court in The Hague. While travelling, he released a message.
To my countrymen,
Duterte tells his supporters not to worry and he would continue to serve the Philippines. Looking tired in a white T-shirt after what he called a long flight, speaking in a mix of English and Tagalog, he says he will be answerable, but a lot is in the past.
this will be a long legal proceedings. And I say to you, I will continue to serve my country. So be it. Oh, ganun na. This is the legal.
A fleet of black police cars surrounded by Filipinos as Duterte arrives at the detention centre. Some shouting the name of the man who ruled their country from 2016 to 2022. The court did not comment on his health but said assistance is available as a precautionary measure. The charges he faces relate to his war on drugs. Thousands were reportedly killed in police shootouts after Duterte's inauguration in 2016. An opinion poll of that year has Duterte with an approval rating of 77%.
The arrest of the former president of the Philippines, Mr. Rodrigo Roa Duterte, is an important moment. The judges have found reasonable grounds to believe that Mr. Duterte has committed the crime of murder as the founder, as the head of the so-called Davao death squad, as the mayor of Davao City, and then later as the president of the Philippines between 2011 and 2019. As I also repeatedly emphasize, international law is not as weak as some may think. When we come together, when we work, when we build partnerships, the rule of law can prevail.
The ex-leader will be faced with conditions like this while he awaits trial. Pictures released by the ICC shows what Duterte can expect inside the centre. It shows a modest cell with a bed, toilet and sink in each room. The common area shows a visitor's reception, a well-equipped gym and a sports hall with a five-a-side football pitch and basketball nets at each end. It is expected that within just a few days, Duterte will be taken to the court for a hearing where judges will confirm his identity and that he understands the charges.
Mr. Duterte is presumed innocent. He will make his initial appearance before the court soon. And the focus of the office is on the judicial proceedings and on proving its case before the judges of the International Criminal Court.
Back home, relatives mourn alleged victims of Duterte's war on drugs. In Manila, mothers wept as they held urns carrying the remains of their sons. A religious leader tries to comfort them. One says her 22-year-old boy was tortured and killed in 2016. For her, she says, arrest is not enough. A date for the start of the hearing will follow soon. David Garrett, TVB News.
U.S. President Donald Trump is determined to stick to his guns in the tariff wars with many of the country's allies, with Canada and the European Union vowing to slap countermeasures on Trump's tariffs. The U.S. leader said he was ready to fight back. On Wednesday, Trump imposed a sweeping 25% tariff on all steel and aluminum imported into the U.S., hoping to convince American companies to buy local. Nazvi Karim with more.
Not everyone in the United States is upset about President Donald Trump's tariffs on steel and aluminium. Scott Elmore is the president and CEO of a company that makes luxury pergolas, usually used in gardens to support climbing plants. Their steel and aluminium doesn't come from abroad.
In fact, it's helping us because we're made here in the United States. So the only people that hurts are my competitors that are shipping in raw aluminum extrusions from overseas. So now their product is going to cost 25% more than it did before. That means I'm more competitive. That's good for me.
Canada is the largest supplier of steel and aluminium to the US and said it would place 25% reciprocal tariffs on steel products and also raise taxes on items such as tools, computers and accessories, sports equipment and cast iron products. The US is not only taking on Canada in tariff wars, but also the European Union, which has also vowed countermeasures. On Wednesday, the EU announced it was responding to America's $28 billion worth of tariffs by imposing 26 billion euros on US goods from April 1st. During a meeting with Irish Prime Minister Michael Martin, Trump said he was ready to fight fire with fire.
As you know, we're going to be doing reciprocal tariffs. So whatever they charge us, we're charging them. Nobody can complain about that. Whatever it is, it doesn't even matter what it is. If they charge us 25 or 20% or 10% or 2% or 200%, then that's what we're charging them.
Canada's Foreign Minister Melanie Joly made a direct appeal to Americans to lobby for an end to the tariff war.
Canada is not the one that is ultimately starting this war. President Trump's tariffs against you are causing that. And there are no winners in a trade war. American friends, help us help you. Please help us end these tariffs as quickly as possible. And please talk to your elected representatives at the federal, at the state and municipal level.
Nazvi Karim, TVB News.
Back locally, the Office of the Ombudsman has flagged the issue of rampant illegal parking at public housing estates amid a shortage of proper parking space at these residential sites. Some vehicles even blocked emergency accesses. With that, the watchdog has put forward 12 recommendations to the Housing Department. In December last year, the Office of the Ombudsman undertook a probe into illegal parking at public housing estates. After studies, the watchdog inspected 4 estates on site, namely Yao Estate, Cheung Hong Estate, Lai Yu Estate, and Queen's Hill Estate. Because of the geographical constraints there, it is not possible to install barrier gates. Authorities found illegal parking at 3 of the 4, Cheung Hong Estate, Lai Yu Estate, and Queen's Hill Estate. The situation was most serious outside office hours and at night. A parked vehicle even blocked emergency access at Lai Yu Estate. Yao Estate has stepped up non-office hours enforcement operations with the installation of additional surveillance cameras and the trial implementation of sensors to enable real-time remote traffic monitoring. The Office of the Ombudsman has put forward 12 recommendations to the Housing Department. They include formulating strategies to combat illegal parking for housing estates that cannot install barrier gates. Another will set performance indicators on enforcement efforts. The Housing Department accepted all suggestions from the watchdog. Most measures have been adopted at various public housing estates. The Housing Department said it will also explore the use of technology and conduct more joint operations with other departments to crack down on illegal parking. The Housing Department has installed nearly 200 mobile cameras at public housing estates to crack down on objects being thrown from a height. Secretary for Housing Winnie Ho said on social media that authorities selected 10 public housing estates last year to pilot test the use of cameras and artificial intelligence to analyze cases involving objects being thrown from a height, which is an offense. Using the AI camera, the offending housing unit could be identified promptly, and the path of the falling objects could be tracked. The household which threw the object will be sent a warning letter and face disciplinary procedures. The move is expected to improve the efficiency in dealing with such offenses. Each public housing estate in Hong Kong now has one such mobile camera. while the Housing Department also installed an additional 190 cameras last year. In addition, authorities are using the camera to monitor the illegal disposal of rubbish. The Faculty of Medicine at CUHK has developed a new approach to facilitate early detection and more precise screening of nasopharyngeal cancer using gene sequencing technology. Nasopharyngeal cancer develops in the upper part of the throat behind the nose. Nasopharyngeal cancer is one of the 10 most common cancers among men in Hong Kong. In the early stages, patients often display very few symptoms. The latest research by the Faculty of Medicine of the Chinese University of Hong Kong has developed a new genetic sequencing technology that can detect Epstein-Barr virus gene in patients' plasma from their blood samples. Epstein-Barr virus, or EBV gene, is a key cancer biomarker released by nasopharyngeal carcinoma cells. Between 2013 and 2016, the team conducted plasma EBV genetic testing for 20,000 middle-aged local men. 34 of them were diagnosed with nasopharyngeal cancer. 70% of them are diagnosed with stage 1 or 2 cancer, meaning the new screening method is effective in diagnosing the ailment at an early stage. 4 years later, the team conducted a second round of nasopharyngeal cancer screening for other participants and uncovered 24 newly diagnosed cases. The team said the risk of those who are found to have the EBV gene is 87 times higher in developing nasopharyngeal cancer than others. The research team said the EBV genes associated with a tumor can be separately identified via their method with a 97% accuracy rate. It costs around $2,000 to screen for EBV, and patients have to draw their blood once. A van driver was killed in a traffic accident on West Kowloon Highway today afternoon. Online footage showed his vehicle traveling at high speed before crashing into a stationary fire truck on the highway. A firefighter was seen ducking, evading the van just in time. Both the van and the fire truck were severely damaged. The incident happened at around 2 p.m. when the fire services personnel were investigating a separate accident near Olympian City before one of their vehicles were rammed into by the van. The 44-year-old van driver was unconscious after the crash and was confirmed dead at Kwong Hospital. And still ahead, Donald Trump says there will be financially devastating consequence for Russia if it does not accept ceasefire deal with Ukraine. A cross-cultural Picasso exhibition at the M+ Museum. An old maternity hospital in Sai Ying Pun has been declared a monument. Welcome back. Russia claims to have driven the Ukrainian army out of the biggest town in Russia's Kursk border region. This comes as U.S. officials arrived in Moscow to present to Russian President Vladimir Putin a proposal for a 30-day ceasefire, which has already been endorsed by Ukraine. Putin, wearing army fatigues, has visited the Kursk region for the first time since Ukraine made gains there last year. Russian forces say they have retaken the key town of Susa. The president's presence in the region suggests military success for Russia. American officials are arriving in Moscow with talks expected imminently.
We can, but I hope it's not going to be necessary. Sure, we can pressure. There are things you could do that wouldn't be pleasant in a financial sense. I can do things financially that would be very bad for Russia. I don't want to do that because I want to get peace. I want to see peace, and we'll see. But in a financial sense, yeah, we could do things very bad for Russia. It would be devastating for Russia, but I don't want to do that because I want to see peace. And we're getting close to maybe getting something done.
Starting this Saturday, art lovers will be able to revel in the realist masterpieces of world-renowned painter Pablo Picasso at the new Picasso for Asia exhibition at the M+ Museum in West Kowloon. Timothy Lee tells us more.
From the chaotic Guernica to the dynamic brushstrokes of Cubist masterpiece Dead Birds, scenes from the creative mind of Pablo Picasso now adorn the walls of the M+ Museum. The special exhibition, which aims to showcase an intercultural dialogue between Picasso and Asian artists who have echoed his visual language, features more than 60 works by the Spaniard and around 130 by Asian artists. Those interested in art history will be pleased to find an assortment of Picasso's works representing the various periods of his illustrious career, from the Blue Period to the advent of Cubism.
This exhibition is a conversation, so we have to really find the right balance. But one of the objectives of the exhibition to give a very clear sense, a very good sense of the complete trajectory of Picasso's career from beginning to the end.
Chang noted that this is the first major Picasso exhibition in Hong Kong in more than 12 years, with organizers hoping that the collection will foster a deeper exchange between M+ and the Picasso Museum in Paris.
I think we managed to do something like this for the people that are being introduced to Picasso for the first time to have a lot of understanding of his works, but also for the people who are more accustomed to Picasso exhibition to bring a new aspect. It was truly a conversation also between art and museum.
Fans of iconic Cubist painter Pablo Picasso will be able to immerse themselves in some of his most famous artworks, such as the Figures by the Sea, painted in 1931 at the M+ exhibition. This piece, which displays two distorted figures embracing an intimacy on the beach, is characteristic of Picasso's surrealist style.
The gallery will remain open to the public until the 13th of July. Timothy Lee, TVB News.
The Hong Kong Flower Show will kick off tomorrow at Victoria Park. Authorities are expecting over 650,000 visitors to the 10-day floral exhibition. This year's flower show takes on visitors on a global adventure from the Netherlands to Greece. And also brought to life in these floral sculptures are wildlife from the African safari and landmarks from around the world. The floral extravaganza this year is themed Ablaze with Glory. The theme flower is Cosmos. The show will run from March 14th to the 23rd. Admission is set at $14 with half-price discounts for students, the elderly, and the disabled. The Hong Kong Wetland Park's very first otter sighting, which was recorded on camera as well. This infrared footage captured the otter's maiden appearance at the park. The curious critter was spotted taking care of his business at the same location at least 3 times in 1 month. This area is also a bustling spot frequented by leopard cats and civets. Kaduri Farm and Botanic Garden said otters play a crucial role in the wetland ecosystem as apex predators, which also help maintain the balance of nature. The Antiquities Advisory Board has designated 2 historic buildings as the city's latest declared monuments. They are the century-old main building of Old San Yuk Maternity Hospital in Sai Ying Pun and Kwang Fuk Ti, a temple in Shengwan. The iconic red brick exterior laid in English bond with accentuated designs of the wall corners. Its main entrance, a granite portico flanked by Tuscan columns, with inscriptions by Qing dynastic officials and scholars Cheng Pak Tao and Lai Cixi. Built in 1922, the 4-story main building of the Old San Yuk Maternity Hospital on Western Street in Sai Ying Pun marked the city's first Chinese maternity hospital. Back in 1961, hospitalization charges for one night here cost $2. A hallmark architectural feature here is this spiral wooden staircase. To meet the increasing post-war demand for maternity services, the hospital relocated to a new site on Hospital Road in 1955. In 1961, the original building was repurposed as a community center and named the Chan Yuk Social Center. In 1973, it was renamed the Western District Community Center and continues to offer public health care and social services to this day. Chloe Lai, chairperson of the Hong Kong Resource Center for Heritage, said while she is glad to hear the news, she hopes the government can dedicate more resources to promote Hong Kong history and heritage. Also designated as a declared monument is the 130-year-old Kwang Fuk Ti in Shengwan, which is commonly known today as Pakshing Temple. Built in 1895, the place of worship enshrines the main deity Titi Garba and other deities in Chinese folk religion, including Chai Kung and Ji Gong, a Buddhist monk known for his eccentric character and his cause to help the poor and stand up to injustice. A strong earthquake hit the southern Italian city of Naples today. 1 person was injured. Firefighters in Naples were assessing the structural stability of buildings after a strong earthquake hit the Campi Flegrei area. The quake injured 1 person because of the partial collapse of a building. According to Italy's National Institute of Geophysics and Volcanology, the 4.4 magnitude tremor hit the area early Thursday. Firefighters responded to the collapse of a false ceiling in a home in Pozzuoli. rescuing one person with no other victims reported. Many residents were stranded and spent the night on the streets or in their cars. And that's the news. Thank you for watching.